Picture this, mate. Towering stones like Stonehenge, pyramids in Egypt, even Mayan temples, all pointing to the stars. But here's the kicker. Hidden right here in Australia, there's something even older, and it rewrites the way we think about human history. The world's oldest continuous culture, using the sky not just for stories, but as a calendar, a law book, a survival manual. And tied to all of it is a mystery about 7 sisters chased across the heavens. Stick around, because by the end of this, you'll see why this might be the oldest story humanity's ever told. And hey, before we dive in, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. It keeps these stories alive. Now, let's set the scene. The Aboriginal peoples of Australia carry knowledge stretching back more than 65,000 years. That makes their traditions the oldest continuous culture on Earth. And when elders speak about the night sky, they don't just talk about twinkling lights. They describe a system, a living library written across the heavens. The sky isn't just decoration. It's a law book, a textbook, a survival guide. Dr. Dwayne Hamaker, an astrophysicist who spent years listening to Aboriginal elders, once said the conversations began with simple things like the sun or the moon. But soon, the stories unfolded into songs, dances, and sacred traditions, each carrying layers of science wrapped in story. He realized quickly that the sky was a classroom, one that had been open far longer than any university on Earth. Think about this. While in Europe, people were chiseling stones for Stonehenge, here in Australia, First Nations communities were aligning stone arrangements with the setting sun, mapping the seasons, and teaching their kids how to survive. Through stories written in the stars, it's easy to forget that survival in this land was tough, blistering heat, shifting rains, and scarce resources. Yet Aboriginal astronomy turned the night sky into a survival map. It told when the rains would come, when the fish would swim, when the emus would lay eggs. For them, astronomy wasn't about wonder alone. It was about life. And at the center of this ancient wisdom lies a tale found not just in Australia, but across the globe, the 7 Sisters. This story, woven into Dreamtime and Greek mythology alike, hides a secret so profound it may connect us all to our most distant ancestors. So let's dive in. For Aboriginal cultures, the night sky is more than a canvas of stars. It's a mirror of the land, a guidebook for life. And one of the most fascinating examples is what they call the emu in the sky. Now, unlike most constellations, where people connect the dots of stars, the emu is formed from the dark spaces in the Milky Way. Imagine that. Seeing shapes not in the bright lights, but in the shadows. The long neck stretches past the Southern Cross, the body sprawls across the Milky Way, and its head dips low in the dark clouds near Scorpius. Elders describe how the emu changes through the seasons. In autumn, it appears stretched across the sky, as if the bird's running. That's when real emus begin laying eggs. In winter, the shape shifts, so the male emu seems to be sitting. That's exactly when males brood the eggs in the wild. By spring, the emu sinks closer to the horizon, mirroring the time when chicks hatch. And come summer, its body rests along the horizon, a reminder of a changing season and food cycles. To a farmer, it's like reading the weather report. To a scientist, it's a seasonal calendar. But to Aboriginal peoples, it was all of that wrapped into one: practical, spiritual, and cultural. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The emu wasn't just about food or seasons. It was part of rituals, stories told to children, and laws guiding how people lived with the land. It wasn't separate from life. It was life itself. One anthropologist compared it to a modern weather app. But instead of checking a phone, elders looked up to the sky, reading shifts in brightness, star color, and the Milky Way's position. It's living science encoded in story, and that's just one example. The sky was full of them, yet none as widespread or as mysterious as the Seven Sisters. The Seven Sisters, also known as the Pleiades, appear in myths across the globe. In Greek mythology, they're the daughters of Atlas, chased by Orion the hunter. Zeus places them in the sky to protect them, and still today you can see Orion's belt pursuing the little cluster of stars. Here in Australia, the story feels strikingly familiar. Among the Yolngu people of Arnhem Land, the Seven Sisters, called the Julpan, are pursued by Orion, a man named Nieruna, who holds fire magic in his hands. Each time he grows brighter, the sisters hide from his advances. Among the Pitjant Jatjara, they're the Kunkarankalpa, young women chased endlessly across the desert sky. Different tribes tell it in their own languages, with unique details, yet the theme remains. 7 young women, relentlessly pursued. Now pause for a moment. These stories are told by cultures thousands of kilometers apart, with no contact for tens of thousands of years. Yet they share the same framework: sisters chased by a hunter in the sky. Elders explain that the sisters teach moral lessons about boundaries, respect, and protection, but they're also tied to practical knowledge. The Pleiades rise at certain times of the year, signaling when to hunt or gather, when rains approach, or when food becomes abundant. It's both moral compass and seasonal marker. A Greek child hearing the story 3,000 years ago and an Aboriginal child hearing it 30,000 years ago were learning the same 2 things: how to behave in society and how to survive. That's no coincidence. And it opens a bigger question. Are we looking at one of humanity's oldest shared stories? Here's where science and story truly collide. The Seven Sisters are called 7, but most people only see 6. So why is that? Astronomers have studied this puzzle for centuries, and it turns out one of the stars, Pleione, sits so close to its brighter sister Atlas that they often blur into a single point of light. Today, with our eyes under modern skies, most of us only spot 6. But thousands of years ago, Pleione shone more brightly, visible as a distinct star. This detail matches myths from cultures across the world. The Greeks told of a sister who faded away out of shame. The Iroquois of North America speak of a star that vanished. Aboriginal elders too mention a missing sister, a detail impossible to know without seeing it. Astrophysicists Nice and Nice published a study in 2009 suggesting that indeed Pleione was brighter in the ancient sky. That means the story of 7 sisters could well date back to a time when all 7 were clearly visible, tens of thousands of years ago. Think about that. A story carried across continents, across oceans, across 70,000 years of human memory. While empires rose and fell, while languages evolved and disappeared, the tale of the 7 sisters endured. Oral tradition proved stronger than stone. And that's why scholars suggest this could be humanity's oldest surviving myth. One born before we scattered from Africa, preserved in the night sky itself. To carry such knowledge across millennia, oral tradition needed a system, and Aboriginal cultures had one: songlines. These were paths across the land and across the sky, encoded with songs that mapped rivers, waterholes, mountains, and constellations. By singing them, one could travel hundreds of kilometers without a map. An elder once explained it like this: the earth and sky are mirrors. What's above reflects what's below. By knowing the song in the sky, you could find your way on land. Think of it as the world's first GPS, a navigation system powered not by satellites, but by stories and memory. Each songline wasn't just a map, it was lore, culture, and science interwoven. Anthropologists liken it to a cloud storage system. Every story, every song, every lore encoded in a way that ensured accuracy through ceremony, repetition, and community. Unlike the telephone game, where messages degrade, Aboriginal oral tradition built in safeguards, rituals, initiation, and responsibility. That's why these stories remained intact for tens of thousands of years. It's humbling to think, long before writing, long before printing presses, long before the internet, humans had already created a network of knowledge sung across generations. And at the heart of those stories still today, the Seven Sisters shine down, a reminder of how memory, culture, and science are never truly separate. So, what does all this tell us? That Aboriginal astronomy isn't just myth, and it isn't just science. It's both. It's a system of knowledge so old, so refined, and so enduring that it bridges the gap between culture and cosmos. The emu in the sky taught people when to gather food. When you look up at the stars tonight, remember, you're not just seeing light from millions of years away. You're seeing the same patterns that guided the world's oldest culture, and perhaps the same story told to our ancestors tens of thousands of years ago. That's something worth sitting with. If this journey through the stars struck a chord with you, don't let it fade into the night. The Seven Sisters taught lessons of respect and survival, and the missing star, Pleiades, proved that these weren't just stories, but observations rooted in real astronomy. While academics debate exact dates, one thing's clear: this might be the oldest continuous story humanity has ever told. And it survived not in books or monuments, but in memory, song, and the night sky itself. Smash that like button, share it with your mates, and drop a comment below. What do you think? Coincidence or humanity's oldest memory? And of course, hit subscribe so you don't miss more deep dives into the mysteries that shape who we are. Every bit of support helps keep these stories alive, just like they've been for thousands of years.